Hello friends, welcome back to this demo of 12 key functions of eCAAT. I hope you have watched the earlier videos. In this video, we'll cover 12 new functions of eCAAT. These are the functions which we'll be covering in this demo. We'll be looking at fuzzy match, arrange, near, normalize, similar. We'll also look at fuzzy match sounds X and sounds like, dynamic filter, analysis. We'll look at cluster. We'll also look at MIS, compare files, authentication check, three-way matching, and join files. Let's get started. Fuzzy match has following functions. We'll be covering all these functions. First, let's look at fuzzy match arrange. What does fuzzy match arrange do? It displays the similarities in two rows based on values by eliminating the transposition within the cell values with the option to identify duplicates after arranging the data. For example, I want to find duplicate transactions which have been entered in different ways by changing the order of words. Now here I've selected the transactions. It could be transactions, or it could be name, or it could be any specific field. Now we'll be using the account trans file in the eCAAT sample data for the purpose of performing this function. The assertions are, we will be able to verify the accuracy and completeness of the data. We'll also be able to identify duplicates and check the validity or veracity of data. Let's go to eCAAT sample data. Now already opened eCAAT tab, and then I've got the sample data. We have to go to account trans. I'll use this to go to account trans. Now I've got the account trans. I already have the field which I had performed earlier. I delete this field. I have the account trans file here. Now I go to fuzzy match arrange and select the field transaction description, and split value between this. I want space to be maintained, and I say I want to find duplicates. I'll say OK. Now you see a new field arrange has been added. In addition to that, it also display the duplicates which are there in each of the fields. Now if you see here, based on the arrangement of the words inside the field, each of the cells of transaction description, you find purchase of HDD. There are two duplicates. Similarly, check number 93 towards printers. These have been entered in different ways. It has been entered 8 times. Okay. So now we have got this. This is how arrange works. This is the fuzzy match arrange. Now let's go to the next function in fuzzy match. This is fuzzy match near. What does fuzzy match near do? It compares the two given values, and these values could be pertaining to the character, numeric, date, or time column, and returns true if the specified difference between the two fields is equal to or less than the specified difference. Otherwise, it returns false. We'll be using the aging to fields file from the eCAAT sample data, and we'll identify the transactions. Now here, I would like to go to aging to fields. I go to this aging to fields. Now there are two fields here. I've got the sale date, I've got the receipt date. Now let's see how we can perform this. I want to find out the nearness in terms of the payment between the sale date and the receipt date. So I'm going to select the option based on the columns, and this is based on the date, and I select the receipt date. By default, I select first the sale date, and then I select the receipt date is selected by default, and I say the difference is 30, which means if the difference between the sale date and the receipt date is 30, which means generally the credit period is 30 days, I want to eliminate that. Other than that, I want to find out the difference, and I want to find out the true values or false values. Okay, which means I want to find out the false values. I'll say OK. I should be able to now find out all the values where the receipt is more than 30 days. This is just a simple example which I am showing. You can use this for multiple purposes. The function is being performed. So sometimes it may show not responding. So because Excel has got a particular limitation of time. Now see, we got the result here. Now I find here there are totally 3,593 records where I got based on the sale. I picked up the sale date and the receipt date where it exceeds more than 30 days. Okay. Not only that, it has added. Now if you see here, let me apply the filter. It will also added a column here. Based on this, I'll be able to find out how many transactions are there, which are 3,593 transactions which exceed the credit limit, and how many parties are there who actually made the payment on the due date within the 30 days limit. Okay, this is what we have called as the fuzzy match near. Now let's go to the next function, fuzzy match normalize. What happens in normalize? It removes the special characters, multiple spaces, leading and trailing spaces in a specified column, and thus arranges the data so that we can find out if there are any duplicates. This helps us in identifying the accuracy and validity of the data. Let's go to the account trans file. We have the account trans file. I'm just going to use the same transaction description. I come to eCAAT, fuzzy match, normalize. In normalize, if you see, there is only one column. I select the transaction description, and I can also specify if there are any special characters I would like to retain. Now I would like to retain full stop, and I want to identify the duplicates. Now you see, let's go to the result. You find the transaction description will be rearranged. We got the result here. Let's look at the result. Now if you see, the full stop is retained. This is where you got the result. Now if you see here, normalize also arranges the words within each of the cells in a hierarchical order. First you got the numbers, and later on we got each of the characters. For example, you got C, H, after that you got N, O, printers, P, and then two words. Okay, this is how normalize works. For example, this can also be used to normalize the names. For example, sometimes the first name is given first, the second name is given second, or alternatively. So whatever is given when you normalize, all of them would come in the same order, and you will be able to identify if there are any duplicates. Now let's delete this column, and we'll perform one more action in normalize in fuzzy match, and that is pertaining to fuzzy match similar. Fuzzy match similar compares two values and applies transformation to find values or data that are similar. We are going to use the debit and credit column file from the eCAAT sample data to perform this. Okay, let's go ahead. Let me come to Excel. I want to debit and credit columns. So where do we have the debit and credit column? This is the file I got. Now here if you see, I'd already performed this function, so I'm going to delete this. Okay, I have got this opening debit and credit, and then I got the opening debit and credit. Now here you got the figures, everything is in a single column with the debit and credit. Here I got with minus. Okay. What I would like to do is I would like to apply the fuzzy match similar. So I'm comparing the column C and D. I'll say columns, and I'll select the columns. Here I've selected columns OB, debit and credit, and then again OB, debit and credit. And I can also specify how much of difference is acceptable. For example, I would like to accept one difference or two difference. In that case, that one or two character difference would be acceptable. Here I'm going to say 0, which means I would like to find all values, and I want to find all the true values, or let's say I want to find out the false values, which means which are the fields which don't match. Now I got the result. If you see here, it tells me Abraham 50,000. Here it's minus. Here again, this was given numeric value. Now here you got minus. So you're able to find out all the values which are different. You can also specify if there are any difference values you want to provide in terms of the numbers. Now let's go to the next function, fuzzy match Soundex and Soundslik. This is a very interesting function. What does Soundex do? Soundex displays the 4-digit Soundex code for the selected columns to identify the exact or approximate phonetic similarities. It also displays similarities of words from 2 columns based on exact or approximate Soundex codes. Okay, we are going to use a file called Soundex. Here, using this, we can identify the accuracy and completeness of the data. We got a file called Soundex. Let me go to the Soundex file. I got the Soundex names. Now I have got the names here. I had already performed this function. Let me delete this. Okay, I've got the Soundex. Let's see how Soundex works. We'll perform both Soundex and Soundslik. I've selected Soundex and I select the column, search in the column. Now here I've given the name. Okay, and then I say I want to identify duplicates and I want the summary. Okay, let's see what happens. Now it has actually computed the Soundex for each of them. Now whether it's Jayashree Jadhav, whatever way you spelled, it identifies that and gives the code. For example, J262. Okay, now these are the ones which are similar. Again, it tells you J262 has come 8 times. And then you got Anubhav Mishra. You might give us MISHRA or MISRA. Whatever way you given, it identifies that and finds the duplicate. So this is where you can identify if names have been entered in different ways and you can identify the duplicates. Let's perform another function which is Soundslik. Okay, let's look at Soundslik. But rather than explaining the function, I'll perform the function, then you can understand what it means. I go to Soundslik. Soundslik has 2 columns. It compares 2 columns and based on that it identifies the difference. I got Soundslik. I say column. I can search in columns also. First I select the Soundex 1, first column. Then I select the second column and I say I want it cell wise or column wise. Cell wise means it will match cell A1, A2 with B2, A3 with B3 like that, or column wise is if I will take A2 and then inside B it will check all the columns. I'm just going to take cell wise. I'll say OK. See, now it has actually computed and then it finds which are the ones which are similar. For example, BE and BEE both are same. Baited BAITED and BATED. Okay, hanger HANGER or HANGAR. Whatever you are given, it finds which are similar. This is what is the Soundslik function. So it means using this also you can find out the functions which are duplicates. Now let's come to an interesting function which is the dynamic filter. We will go to the payroll file for this. We got the payroll file here. This is very similar. Now if you look at here, sort and filter, I got filter and I got something called a dynamic filter. You would be already familiar with the filter in Excel. Let's see what is the difference here between the filter in Excel and the filter here. It picks up all the data which is there in that Excel sheet, the worksheet, and displays it in the display form and makes it available to you for doing dynamic analysis. So there are more than, yes, let's see. Yeah, we got the dynamic results. Now let me maximize this. Now this is where I've got the data. The same number of records have been added here. There are 316 records. Now what I would like to do is I would like to pick up, let's say, employee number, all the salary which has been paid to employee number 1001. Now see, I'm able to filter this. Now I would like to pick up based on this particular this one, let's say based on the employee name or based on the user ID. Okay, based on the user ID JP, I can dynamically pick up this information. Not only that, I can do multiple different filters where I can say I want to pick up, let's say, a person who is, let's say, Mohit. So I get the complete details of Mohit. Okay, not only that, I can also give a PAN number. Based on that, I can filter this one further. I can also say what is the number of transactions which are entered pertaining to Mohit, which are entered by KA. So I find there are 3 times the transactions pertaining to Mohit Jain salary have been entered by maker K. Okay, this is how you can do dynamic filter. So what will be the number of transactions you can dynamically filter and pick up this information. This is what the dynamic filter does. You can verify the accuracy and completeness of the data. In this example, I have taken a different example compared to what I gave here. Now let's go to another interesting function, and this from the analysis menu. Analysis has got multiple functions. Maybe we'll cover all these functions in a separate video, but here I would like to just pick up one example, which is the cluster. What is cluster? Now cluster is a type of analysis where I do the analysis based on the X and Y axis. Displays a summary of groups of data from selected set of 2 columns such that each cluster has data of similar characteristics as specified. So I identify the specific group of records for each unique material code based on the quantity and the unit price, which means I'm able to quantify and group based on the quantity and the unit price for each of the material code and put it in a separate cluster. So we can verify the validity and completeness. For example, which of the quantities which are within a particular cluster. Let's perform this and then I'll show you how it works. So we'll go to the procurement file for this. You got the procurement file here. Now this, how many records does it have? It has about 2000 plus records. Yes, 2000 records. What I would like to do here is I go to eCAAT in analysis. There are different types of analysis. I'm going to pick up cluster. Just follow this. This is a very complex concept and it's supposed to be used even in artificial intelligence. We have simplified it for your use. First filter I'm going to do based on the material code, and the x-axis I'm going to pick up quantity. Okay, now how many clusters do I want? Let's say I want 6 clusters. Dynamically it picks up the number of 6 clusters. And what is the y-axis? Y-axis I want the unit price. I select the unit price. Now by default it is selected. Now I don't want to enter the details. I say fill. Automatically it's filled up. So which means quantity has been is from 1 to 76, 77 to 152. It is divided into 6 clusters. Similarly, the unit price is also divided into these 6 clusters. And then I say I want statistics. I can also get the statistics. Okay, I'll click statistics and then I'll say okay. Now it actually groups as per each of the material code, for each of the material code, as per the quantity and the unit price, and gives you the 6 clusters. Let's look at the result. And this is supposed to be a very complex function used in AI also. But in AI, the system is supposed to pick up the cluster. Here we are specifying the cluster. Now we have got the first cluster, we have got the material code, the quantity and the count. It also gives the sum and it identifies the cluster. Similarly, we got the second cluster, the third cluster, the fourth cluster, fifth cluster and the sixth cluster. We also have all the data for all the clusters put together. Totally there are 794 records. It also gives the statistics saying which cluster, how many records are there. Okay, we can also view the chart for this, where I can select for cluster 1 if I want to see the chart. I want to say what is the material, what is the x-axis, y-axis. Based on this I can get the details. Okay, this is how the function cluster works. Let's go to investigate. In the investigate panel, we have got MIS. We'll perform MIS. What is MIS? As you know, MIS is Management Information System. Management Information System, by using eCAAT, I said you can also do business intelligence or data analytics. Now this displays for the selected column the count, total, minimum, maximum, the average of records for the selected period. You can also do it for single fields. You can also do it for multiple fields. So let's generate dynamic MIS for sales based on the day of the week, monthly or quarterly sales. Let me show you how it works. So I'm going to pick up the sales trans file for this. I got the sales trans file and I got the MIS. I go to MIS. Now by default the date is selected. If there are multiple fields will be shown, because MIS is always computed on the date field. I say I want the total of the sales and I'll say MIS. Now by default it is selected the count, sum, and then I'll say I want the average, the minimum, and also the maximum. Okay, now which is the field on which I want to do? What the this one I want to do it based on the month. Okay, and what the order? I want the result to be displayed based on the descending order based on the sum. I'll say okay. Now you find you will get the sales for each of the month, and this will be arranged in a descending order. It will also tell you during that particular month what are the average sales, what are the minimum sales, and what are the maximum sales. So you see, for each of the months we have got the count of the sales, we have got the percentage of the count, we have the sum, we also have the percentage of the sum, average sales and the maximum sales and the minimum sales. Now just imagine, you can also do this in Excel using the pivot table, but the amount of time it takes to do this is quite enormous. Let's do one more function in MIS. Here I'd like to do MIS based on day of the week. So same, I select the sales and I go to MIS and I say day of the week, and I'll say okay. It's important that you know what the field to select, because computers operate by the principle of garbage in, garbage out. If you select the wrong field, you will get the wrong results. Now see, for each day of the week, it gives me what are the sales in terms of the count, the percentage of the count, the sum of the sales, and the percentage of sales. We can also perform this MIS on multiple fields. I got this MIS. I'll just show you how it can be done. Now I have what is called as MIS. Okay, I can go and select all the fields. The default period is selected. I can also do group by, which means I can group by sales based on a particular customer. Here I'm not doing this, and I want the results in a new workbook. So it means I want the MIS for all the fields, day of the week, month, quarter, year, day, everything, and I want it in a, so let me call this as, I keep in desktop, and then I'm going to call it as MIS-all, and I say okay. Now you see, I have made a mistake, so it's giving you this an error. What is the mistake I made? I have not selected what is the total I want. Then I say okay. Now you see it is actually doing the computation for all the 6 or 7 types of MIS which are there, and you will get a new workbook with the results for each of the options which you selected. So now you see, you had to do MIS, and you are able to do this MIS. You don't need to know macro. You are able to perform all this dynamic MIS for multiple fields at one shot in a few clicks, and that's the power of data analytics, and that's the power of eCAAT. And for the purpose of documentation, we also ensure that all these fields are in separately. Now you see here, okay, I think I didn't select the separate workbook, that's why I've got all the results here. I got the MIS day, so this is the sales as per the day, this is the MIS as per the month, I got the MIS as per the quarterly basis, I got the MIS based on the year, I got the MIS sales based on week of the day, I got MIS based on the day of the year, and MIS week of the year, which means week number 1, 2, 3 like this. So it means all this, you will get all this MIS in one shot. Now let's join files. Now we have all so far looked at only single fields. Now let's perform the analysis based on 2 fields. What are the fields you're going to join? We have got 2 files. In this case, we would like to join the file. For example, the sales which has happened is in one file, and the authorization limit is another file. I would like to join the sales with the authorization limit and find out whether all the transactions which have been entered are within the limit. Now you can also do it through Excel, but it's going to be cumbersome. By doing this test, you are going to verify the accuracy and also the authorization or segregation of duties. Let's perform this function. So I would like to go to sales transactions, which has got the sales, and I would like to select the sales authorization limit. Now if you got the various users here, now in the sales trans file, I've got the user ID only, whereas the authorization limit for each of the users is given the sales authorization limit file. Okay, so I select the sales transaction file as the primary file, I have to go and do the join files. In Excel, you do a VLOOKUP. Here you find it's very simple. I have to select the sales authorization limit. Let's check the file, sales authorization limit. Okay. Now what is that I want to join with? There is a unique field based on which I have to join. I want to join based on the user ID. Now it is already put the field here. Now I have multiple options based on which I can select. Only match records from both the tables, records in primary files not matching secondary files, records in secondary files not matching with primary file. Now what does this mean? Which means there are users who are not done any authorization at all, and then all records in the primary file. So what I would like to do is, I would like to find out how many number of the records match in both the files. Okay, or records in primary file not matching with secondary file. Let's pick up this one, which means the transactions which are not authorized by an authorized user. Now you find there are about 6 to 8 users. Totally there are 12 transactions. Now if you see here, there are 10 transactions where the user ID itself is missing, and you got 2 transactions where the user ID AS and MA, these are not in the authorized list. Now is it correct? Now look at the sales authorization, you find AS and MA are not in the authorized list. Right? This is how simple it is to perform join files and perform authorization. Let's go to three-way matching. Now three-way matching is, you are looking at 3 worksheets or data from 3 worksheets and you want to join them and compare them based on the common values. Here we are going to use the expense April, May and June, and using this function I can verify the accuracy in the authorization. I would like to go to the expense April. Where do we have the expense April? Now we have got the expense April. I go to expense April. Now this is what I have. Let's survey the data, month, head, expenditure, payment authorized by, and then here I got same for the month of May and this for the month of June. So let's get started. I got for the month of April. Now I would like to do a three-way matching. What I'd like to know is, I would like to know whether the head of account for each of the months is available in all the 3 fields. So I select expense April, I select the expense May, and I select the expense June. Right? Now what is that I want to match? Head, head and head. These are the 3 fields I want to match. Now it's already selected. What I'd like to have, now it gives multiple options what I want to have. I want to have accounts which are matched in all the sheets, and I'll say OK. Now you find wherever the head of account, same head of account is repeated in all the 3 months, this will be matched, and based on that it will give me the results. Now this is just a concept of three-way matching. You could have the purchase order, you have the goods received note, and you have the invoice, and based on this all the 3 you can match and find out the exceptions. Now it tells me the head of account here, the head of account, and also it gives me the amount. Okay, this is what you do in three-way matching. Let's now do an authentication check. Earlier I showed you how you can do an authorization check, join 2 files. Here I'll show you how you can do an authentication check. This is one of the templates where you got. What I'd like to know is, I'd like to pick up all transactions where the sales has been entered by a user beyond his limit. So here we are actually verifying the concept of authorization or the segregation of duties. So I go to the sales file. I've got the sales file and I've got the authorization limit. We'll see how we can perform this function. I go to templates and I've got authentication check here. By default, it picks up the primary file, sales transaction, and it tells me which are the field. Now I want to pick up the sales authorization limit here. Yes, sales authorization limit. Now it tells me what is that I want to do. I have the user ID and the user ID. I want to match the user ID And then what is the next thing I want to do? I want to look at sales and the limit. See, by default it has been selected. I want to find out which are the cases where the sales is entered beyond the limit. Okay, which means now about 6,666 records in the sales transaction file and about 8 users. You should be able to do 100% verification of all these transactions and pick up all the transactions which have been entered by all the users beyond the limit. Now you see that we have done 100% audit of the transactions. This is what I said is the power of data analytics. Now it tells me for each of these users, for example, if you see here, the limit of RE is 20,000 rupees, where he has entered a transaction of 1,20,000 rupees. Now here I would like to pick up all transactions pertaining to REA. I am able to get all the transactions pertaining to REA. I would like to pick up from all SA. So dynamically and query and get the information. Now this is the authorization or authentication check. Let's look at the last function here, compare files. What I would like to do here is, this is a very powerful function. I would like to compare the sales between two given periods based on various parameters. We will use the invoice 2016 and the invoice 2000 file for this. I can use the index sheet. Now you remember index sheet, let me give you a bonus function. Index sheet is a function which can be dynamically used. Now I click on index sheet now. You find once again the index sheet is computed and you'll be able to find out which are the new additions which have been made. Now I wanted to go to the invoice 2016. I want invoice 2016. I would like to compare invoice 2016 with invoice 2017, find out the difference. So we are going to use the compare files. This is a very simple function. You find most of the cases the eCAAT follows consistently a simple approach. I select the particular fields. I have selected invoice 2016. Now I have to select invoice 2017. I'm in invoice 2017. What is the field based on which I want to compare? For example, I would like to know what the sales as per each of the customer number. I can also perform as per the each product number, the quantity of the salesperson. Here I just selected as per the customer number. And what that I want to compare? I want the total. What is the total amount value of the sales? That's all. I would like to have both the count and the sum. And I'll say OK. Now you see, I'm able to get the comparison of the sales which happened customer wise for the year 2016 and 2017, and it will give me the result in terms of the count and the sum. Now you see customer number 10,000, 2016 he bought 3 times, and whereas 2017 he bought 5 times. Okay, and what is the total value? Like that I am able to get the complete list of all the sales which have happened. Now here if I look at 0, let's say if I put 0, now this gives me customers which were not there in 2016 but which are added in 2017. Similarly, if I give 0 on the secondary field, I find these are new customers which have been, these are customers who were existing earlier but have made 0 sales during 2017. So it means dynamically I can find out what are the customers which have been lost during the year. Now this is what we have got compare files. I'm just giving you a simple example based on selected criteria. You can apply this concept to any of the files. So let me summarize the presentation we got here. As I said, if you compare MS Excel with eCAAT, eCAAT has got much more functions and eCAAT has been specifically designed from the perspective of data analytics. It's a multi-dimensional set of tools and it enhances the power of Excel. You can do much more than what you can do in Excel. It has functions for time saving. It can be used as the BI and MIS tool. You can perform this BI and MIS on the fly, and you can also perform data analytics in a few clicks, which I've shown you. There are more than 250 functions. I've just given you a demo of some of the key functions here. So eCAAT, they say wherever there's a mouse, there is eCAAT. And eCAAT is the audit tool for the digital decade when you have data which is available in a digital format. And this takes care of the challenge of the auditors to audit in a digital environment which has got abundance of data. Now you need to ask the question, are you ready to move from the ticks to the clicks? So you can see the next video where I'll cover some more functions of eCAAT. Thank you very much for watching this video. We look forward to seeing you in the next video. Bye.